View From A Pew are those of Mac Mckoy and are not necessarily the opinions of his guests, his producer Garth, any one particular denomination or religion, the church lady, Mr. Lemke, Pastor Craig, or anyone else of sound mind and body. Now here is today's The View From A Pew, heard all around the world on YouTube. Just search for The View From A Pew.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you to the producers of the movie and series The Chosen for allowing us to use their opening music. Walk on the Water is the theme song for that mini-series, which isn't too many anymore. I hope you're getting a chance to watch it. If you never have, I would just softly and kindly suggest that you do. It's kind of like visiting the Holy Land. It doesn't change your perspective, but it adds color. You now see these characters playing the roles of Peter and Jesus and Paul and all these folks, and they are, not Paul, sorry, and they are absolutely following the Bible. And I think you would enjoy it if you ever watched that. All right, it's a Friday, and we're talking about what does the Bible say about the Messiah. We've gone through Mary, we've gone through the angels, and now the lessons from Joseph. What does the Bible say about the lessons from Joseph when it comes to the Messiah?
Well, Mac, one of the last things we said, we were talking about Joseph and the strength that he had as a man. And I'm not talking just about his physical strength, his strength of character, the kind of person that God could trust, be a trustworthy person to put his child, the Messiah, in Joseph's hands to make sure that he was taken care of well. You know, I don't want to sound sexist at all, okay? But there are certain characteristics that I believe God gave to human beings and to different genders. I think there are characteristics that God gave to men in general. There are characteristics that God gave to women in general. They say, and I'm not an expert on this at all, but they say that when a woman thinks, that as you watch what's happening in the brain, you can see activity all through the brain as a woman is doing something, as she's accomplishing something. When a man is doing something, accomplishing something, and you watch the brain patterns, there's just a spot in the brain that is active. Yeah. Men have, I believe, in a general way, they have the ability to just focus on one thing.
Yes.
Maybe that's why we don't hear our wives always as much as we should, because we're so focused on what we're doing.
Well, they always do that drawing where men think this way and it's linear,
yes,
and then women look like the way they think it's like a pile of spaghetti. But that's a good thing.
Yes. We have different qualities, different characteristics. Joseph is a strong man. He has and it doesn't come just from human strength at all. God strengthens Joseph's life. Joseph decides to follow God in faith. Mm-hmm. And because of that, God helps Joseph to become a man of character. And he also is trained as a carpenter. And my dad was a carpenter, by the way.
Oh, okay.
He was able to build things.
That's another thing like you and Jesus have in common.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, my dad didn't pass it on to me. I'm terrible at trying to build something.
All right.
But he had that ability. Joseph had that ability, and he was a good carpenter. He must have been to last in Nazareth through the years, which means he was a man of integrity. He did his work right. He did his work well.
Yeah.
That is part of the strength of Joseph's life that we can look at. That is a lesson to be learned. Why did God choose this man, Joseph? He was a man that was open to following God. And as God worked in his life, he became somebody really trustworthy in all aspects of his life.
And in many ways, we know or believe that he was much older than Mary. He was a grown man, not a teenage boy.
We believe that no doubt is the case.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure what their age differences were, but it would be more likely because that's the way that people married back in those days.
Yep.
It is possible that Joseph had a previous marriage and that he had children from that previous marriage. The Bible doesn't say that exactly, but it's very possible that that indeed could have happened. But if you look at, again, you look at Joseph and you learn what are some of the lessons that we can gain from his life. I mean, you just have to look at the way that he stood up and was the kind of man that God needed, and that he would be willing to serve God and not compromise on any of those things tells us a lot about Joseph. Now, let me ask you a question in regards to Joseph and Joseph's life. What kind of changes did this make for Joseph in the life that he already had? What did it mean to now be the father of the Messiah?
Well, it would be humbling.
It would be very humbling, yes.
He was a Jewish follower.
Right.
He knew that he married up.
Yes.
That Mary was, wonderful in all that she's done. But he also knew that he had a role to play as a mentor, a human flesh mentor for his boy named Jesus.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you wonder what some of those stories are like that we don't have details of what could have happened, the give and take between Jesus and Joseph.
Well, and that's one of the things I tell people when they want to challenge whether the Bible's true. Don't you think that if it was all made up, they'd have more about Joseph? They would have created a whole thing, James, the whole 9 yards. We have what was in the scrolls, what was reported, and that's what the Bible's made of.
Because that was what was really important for us to see and to understand. Now, Joseph being the father of the Messiah, did he have some now very special role in the community?
No.
No, because they didn't recognize his son as the Messiah.
Yeah.
Did he get great wealth because he was now the father of the Messiah? No. Did he even have the opportunity of seeing Jesus live out his life and ministry?
Not past 12 or 13 years old.
No, he didn't. So what kind of reward does Joseph get for saying yes to God in faith and yes, I will do what you want?
Well, you know that many mansions that God has in heaven and Jesus is going to make room for you? I bet Joseph, Dad's got a heck of a mansion up there.
I bet he does.
Yeah.
And I bet you do too, Mac.
Well, that may be, but
because God does that kind of thing. My point to make is just the fact that the reward for all of us is already maxed out. Okay? You can't get any better reward than what God has planned for you. Okay?
In other words, whatever I've done, right or wrong, needs to be forgiven or blessed, God already knows it.
God knows that, but he has a reward for you that can't be equaled or rivaled in any way. And so whatever happens to you in this life, whether great or whether not so great, whatever happens to you, it doesn't affect that reward, that perfect reward that's already waiting for you.
Yeah.
Right? So, when you look at Mary and Joseph's lives, they were not easy lives, right? They struggled. They went through, Joseph must have wondered, are the soldiers going to catch me as he's taking the child down to Egypt?
Yes.
He's probably wondering at times, is something going to happen to Jesus? Am I going to fail at this role? imagine what they felt like when Jesus was lost in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And they thought they had been negligent. And what are they going to do now? God is going to be angry with them. And no, it's okay.
See, I'd always worry about Grandma getting upset, but boy, God would not like it if they lost Jesus.
But they go through struggles. Mary, because she lives longer, she has to see the whole thing with Jesus dying and go through all the agony of that. But it doesn't affect the eternal reward. So if your life is a little hard, if your walk of faith in this world is a little tough, remember, that doesn't affect your reward in heaven. Your reward is maxed out already, and it's going to be there for you, and it's going to be complete. So, we struggle so much, Mac. We try to be important in this world. Yeah. We try to be wealthy in this world. We try to have power in this world. There are so many things that we do, and we even want God to make us that way. Come on, God, can you do something? Can I win the lottery or not?
Yeah.
We do all these things. God says, I have a reward that's so much better for you, and it's waiting for you. That reward is there. What an encouragement. That when we look and we read about Joseph and we read about Mary and we read about the struggles that they faced, we say, hey, God had the great reward for them. That reward is not going to change at all.
Now, Mary did have quite a church built as her tomb, which still stands in Jerusalem. But the rumor is that the Catholics removed the body, and it's now back in a very safe place. But you can go visit Mary's church or tomb or whatever you want in the city of Jerusalem.
That is true that's there. However, it's more likely that she probably died with John, who was supposed to be responsible for her care, and had her in Ephesus at that time, where John apparently ends up dying too.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't know every detail about their lives, but we know this. They became outstanding followers of God, examples of what God can do in people's life because of faith. That's what God was looking for in Mary and Joseph's life. He was looking for faith. And they said, when God spoke to them through an angel, they said, let it be. We will do what God asks us to do.
Paul McCartney was not the first one to say that.
No.
It was Mary and God. And let it be.
Let it be.
All right, well, that's our week, and we thank you for taking the time to listen. All of these programs are stored. These are called webcasts because they have a visual on them. They are stored on my Facebook page. They are stored on the View From a Pew Facebook page. They're also stored on YouTube. And all you have to do is search for the View From a Pew. And coming probably early next year, we will also have our own Roku channel on that platform that streams programs, and all of the programs that we do will be on that. We want to thank our worldwide sponsor, DivineTruthChristian.com. Anything you want this Christmas for a gift, remember to keep Jesus in it and order it from them. Thanks for listening.
Divine Truth Christian Store, where you'll find more.